Which brings us to Sweden. It has approved a protest in its capital, Stockholm. Sounds simple, right? But this is not just any other protest. Sweden has given permission to demonstrators to burn the Quran, the holy book of Islam. The protest will be outside Stockholm's main mosque, and it will take place on Eid-al-Adha, one of the holiest days in the Islamic calendar. So Sweden is clearly playing with fire. But why has it allowed this? The order came from a Swedish court. In fact, let me quote from what the court said. The security risks and consequences that the authorities can see connected to a Quran burning are not of such a nature that according to the current law, they give grounds for a decision to reject a request for a general gathering. Basically, the security risks weren't high enough to reject the request, so the court allowed it. I know it sounds problematic, but Sweden rarely bans protests. In fact, this isn't the first book-burning protest. It's happened before. Protesters have burned the Quran in Sweden before. They were led by this man, Rasmus Paludan. And in fact, he has made quite a name with his Quran burning protests. But this protest is not being led by him. Reports say an Iraqi refugee called for it. He wants to ban the Quran, hence the protest. Now, Sweden may not stop this protest, but it will have to deal with the consequences. And this most certainly will not go down well with the Muslim world. More importantly, with Turkey. You see, Sweden wants to join the NATO and it's adamant about it. It's really keen to join the NATO. And the only roadblock it has is Turkey. They're opposing the membership. What explains this bad blood? Well, another Quran burning protest. Well, this happened in January. The Quran was burnt in Sweden. It was done in front of the Turkish embassy. And this did not go down well with Ankara. It slammed the protest. It cancelled the Swedish defense minister's visit. And since that day, Turkey has held it against Sweden. And now there's going to be another protest like this that the Swedish authorities have allowed. Will Turkey turn a blind eye to this one? By the way, this is not the first Quran burning in Europe. And by the looks of it, it may not be the last. In the last 20 years, Europe has witnessed massive migration. Millions flocked to the continent. Most of them came from West Asia and Africa. Some of it was legal, a lot of it was illegal. Europe has tightened its borders now. But these migrants who came over the years still live in Europe. They're part of the European society. But when it comes to values, there is a divide, and a stark one at that. Europe says it believes in free speech. But its critics say it's confusing incitement with freedom of speech. There are many examples of this, including the infamous Charlie Hebdo cartoon, a very controversial one. The French magazine published a series of satirical cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad. They targeted other religions too, but this is the one that sparked massive outrage. There was an attack on the magazine office. 12 people were killed in that attack. Then there were Quran burning events. They happened in Denmark and now in Sweden. Europe defends all of it as freedom of speech. Its critics say it's not free speech really, it's just incitement, and that Europe is being Islamophobic. About 20 million Muslims live in the European Union. That's a sizable population. Most of them believe they're not integrated into the society. That's what experts also say. But these people feel marginalized. In some cases, they also come under attacks that call for further crackdown. Europeans believe that migrants are threatening their social fabric, so they're calling for stricter borders. But this crisis, the one that's playing out now, is borderless. European society is more divided than ever before. It is dealing with growing extremism on both sides, and Europe must address it before it boils over. And now it's time for Vantage shots, images that tell the story. Fighting continues in Sudan despite the paramilitary's truce call. The war between rival military factions has now entered its 11th week. A 33-foot-long whale was freed from a net. This happened off Australia's Gold Coast. France celebrated its popular annual wine festival by replacing fireworks with a drone show. And finally, what makes the 28th of June significant? We're taking you back in history to the year 1919 when the Treaty of Versailles was signed in France between Germany and the Allied nations to mark the end of World War I. We're leaving you with these images. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
الله أكبر الله أكبر ولا قوة إلا بالجهاد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر دي غنايمهم الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الليلة السبت ارفع راسك فوق Hold on, under again. Rolling, he's rolling. Back it up, back it up. Straight ahead.